Hi, I'm Sarah from the upcoming. A real pleasure to be with you here at the 2025 Berlinale. Maybe we can begin with an introduction to The Safe House. For people who haven't seen the film yet, what can they expect?
Maybe to laugh a lot about something really serious, because the film is about a family who hide themselves during the war because of the Nazis. It was a Jewish family in France, but the film is really a comedy, and because I believe that comedy is really the best way to explain the complexity of the world. So maybe I hope you will laugh, because the film is really, I hope, funny. Even it's a French film, and you will understand it maybe in English, but there is quite things which are funny for everyone. I hope so.
What was it about Christian Boltanski's novel that really spoke to you and made you want to kind of adapt it?
Because the film talk about family which is not far away from mine, even if the story of my family is quite different, because my grandparents stayed in Switzerland, which was a peaceful country during the war. But we have something in common about the chaotic way they organize the daily life in this big apartment in Paris. And also because we are talking about the Shoah and the Holocaust, but in a different way, because nobody talked directly about that in the book. And it was something which interests me a lot. The fact that it was always on daily action and daily things that you can feel that there is something which happened during the war, but it's never something frontal in front of you. And I really wanted for a long time making a film about this part of history, but I was too afraid of making a reconstruction of 39 or 45, because I didn't want to film Nazi and people in costume and to have Nazi on my set. I was absolutely terrified by this idea, having people wearing Nazi clothes on my set. So it was a good way to talk about that without being frontal. And also because I believe that when we are talking about the war, it's always a drama, which is normal because the war was something absolutely terrible. But I'm sure that when you are making a comedy, you try to find another way of touching the audience, the feeling of the audience in another place, wake up another part of your brain and your sensibility on the subject, for example.
I guess when you're adapting a book, there's always going to be some things that you're going to have to leave out, or you're going to have to sort of change slightly. Was there anything really crucial that you knew you had to have in? And at which points maybe were you wanting to be creative and put your own spin on it, let's say?
Well, you are right. There is something which is strange, because in the adaptation of La Cache, of The Safe House, I used, in reality, only one sentence in one chapter. Because it just said about 68, because the film is take part in 68, it just said my uncle opened his first exhibition the 3rd of May of 68, and it was not a good idea because there is a revolution the day after that and nobody went to the exhibition. And we use this sentence to redevelop all the story of the family. But the thing which interests me in the book is about maybe the fact that it's impossible to adapt this book, because the book is take every room of the apartment and try to tell the story of the family during 1 century. So you go to the kitchen and you explain what's happened in this kitchen during 1 century. And it's impossible to do that in film. It's a nonsense. But I really like this idea that maybe you can do everything you want with that, with this material. So we try to put everything that we needed on it and to reorganize it during these months, these peculiar months of May 68. And it was possible because Christophe Boltanski, the writer, was so open-minded about this idea. He said to myself, do what you want with the book, but please don't follow it too straightly. Be free to do what you want. So give me the license to imagine something different and also to add a lot of things from my family. But maybe the thing that I try to keep, answering your question, is, I hope so, to be as elegant as he was with the character, and to love them as much as he loved the member of his family. And when you read the book, you really can feel this love, the fact that he's so empathic with the family and everything which happened in this apartment. I try to keep that, because for me it was really the things which was really important in the book.
And that opening sentence of, in a clean world, we must be dirty, bacteria will protect us. How does that kind of speak to, some of the key themes that you think that are running through the book? What did that really say to you, that couple of sentences?
That maybe the fact that it's not, the things are not really so straight as we imagine. So that maybe sometime you have to go in not in a straight way. You have to follow the small path in history to understand it perfectly. And also because in this chaos, in this apartment, there is also order in a way, which is not the bourgeois order of a family life, for example, but in this disorganization, I believe that there is something really human in a way. And we are talking in the film about science too, because someone explained what is Schrödinger, the Schrödinger's cat experiment, the fact that when Schrödinger put a cat in a box, it can be alive and dead, and explain you the physics, the quantum physics, the physical principle. And the reality is not so straight and so black or white. You can be alive and dead in the same moment. A particle can be there and in another place in another moment. For a long time, we imagined that things were really more clear in nature. And now we know scientifically that chaos is really the order of the world in a way. And this family is like that. They are chaotic, but in a way, they are really scientifically chaotic. And it's a thing that I like when the grandfather said that.
Kind of what you were touching on at the beginning there of how, there's this history in the backdrop, in the background, but we're seeing everything through the lens of this very intimate family life. Why was that such a powerful tool in a way? And, how did you want to balance those two things by sort of using the personal family drama as a way to kind of understand what was happening more broadly in France?
Because as a filmmaker, I always imagine that you have to tell a story. And the more personal you are, the more close to character and actors you are, the more audible the things will be. Because we are not working in concepts. You are here in Berlin, it's not a concept. You are hungry, it's not a concept, it's a feeling that you have. And when you are making a film, for me, the experiment is to find something close to the films that you can have every day. And maybe family is something really common to everyone. You can have one and have a lot of critical about them, or not to have one, and it's a problem also because you feel orphan or alone. So it's something that you can understand. And this is a good starting point to explain really a complex thing. And if I have to the films that I did before in Italy about migration and Europe, I use the family too, because a mother and a son, because everybody understands the relationship that you have with your parents and how you feel close to them, and also how you want to be different from them. And it's a good kind of measure of the world to use it, measure of the complexity of where we are living, to use the family. So it's why I decided to follow just one thing, and it's also a way to be humble. I don't want to tell you all the story about the war and the collaboration in France and the anti-Semitic problem in this country, but maybe to be more precise about one thing. And you as a spectator, think about what you saw and make your own explanation in a way.
And just coming to kind of the look and feel of the film, this kind of jazz-infused score, the rich color palette, the kind of vintage aesthetic. How were those also tools to help you tell your story and capture sort of this tone and feeling that you wanted the audience to have?
Sure, but it's a memorized period in France because there is this kind of mix between the France from the 19th century, with old apartments, really big courtyard and buildings and everything. But there is also all those kind of new things arriving from the pop culture, the radio, the car, TV set, everything. And it's really interesting to film it because it's like kind of meeting between two centuries. The 20th century is the modernity of the French designer, for example, and something really historical about how France was in the past, how beauty it was. And it's also funny because the film tells something about the period, and working with that, making some reference to other films or to other pop culture is really something which help you to explain the character and give a kind of form to the film itself.
And finally, what does it mean to you to have the film here at the Berlinale? And what do you hope people will take away? I mean, I guess at this period of time, I think we are looking back at history and I guess hoping that things don't repeat themselves. And so even though it's a period set piece, I think there's a lot in there that a contemporary audience can take away. I'm
really proud of two things here. First of all, is the fact that it's a comedy in competition, which is really difficult. Generally, when you are making comedies, you never are invited to come in competition. You are just screening a part. And the second one, which is more important, is the fact that Liliane Rover, who's playing the hinterland, the great-grandmother, when she was a child, she was wearing the David Star because she was a Jewish little girl in France, and she had to hide herself. And I'm really proud that tonight in Berlin, she will present the film here in Germany, in the capital of Germany, saying, okay, today it's finished. We are all together. And we have to remember that. When I was running this morning through Berlin, I said to myself, we didn't realize how exceptional, how great is it to be here in a free country. We have the same flag in Paris and in Berlin, the European flag. We are together. There is no wall. It's no war. And we never thought about the fact that it's exceptional, and we have to keep that in mind. And maybe being here tonight with Liliane Rover in Berlin, it means something for me and for her, I'm sure.
Oh, that's so beautifully put. Thank you so much for sharing all that with me.
Thank you.
Merci beaucoup.
Merci à vous.